Greetings, all ye lords and ladies, dukes and duchesses, kings and queens, and all other types of royalty, and welcome to this week's edition of Renaissance Update. I am your host, Zachary Farquhar. First up in our coverage of events in the Renaissance comes from Italy. Petrarch has founded a new movement called Humanism. It seems it focuses on education and expression. Let's go to Julius, who's with Petrarch now.
Thanks, Zach. I'm here with Petrarch, the founder of Humanism. Petrarch, would you mind telling me what the core idea behind humanism is?
Certainly, Julius. Humanists seek to create a citizenry able to speak and write with eloquence and clarity, and thus capable of engaging in the civic life of our communities and persuading others to virtuous and prudent actions. This will be accomplished through the study of Studia Humanitatis, or humanities, grammar, rhetoric, history, poetry, and moral philosophy.
Thank you, Petrarch. Back to you, Zach.
Thanks, Julius. Next up comes from the north. A new kind of boat called the caravel is making a surge in popularity. The caravel is much easier to use than other boats. It is extremely agile and fast compared to the barges used by many of today's travelers. With its shallow keel, it can travel further up coastal rivers than other boats. The only drawback, however, is the lack of space. It cannot carry as much cargo or crew as other ships. Now for an update on the Reformation. Martin Luther has finally finished translating the Bible, and the Catholic Church has excommunicated him for renouncing Catholicism. Let's go to Alfred, who's with Luther now.
Thanks, Zach. I'm here with Martin Luther. Mr. Luther, tell me the significance of translating the Bible.
Certainly. Translating the Bible has been my life's work. Growing up in the Holy Catholic Church, I always wondered why the church authorities should be the only ones with the access to the truth God has bestowed to us. Why, back in Jesus' day, the synagogues read what is now called the Old Testament in the language of the people. So I made it my mission, nay, my quest, nay, my sole purpose in life, to translate the Bible into a language that came naturally to my people.
That is very inspiring. Were you surprised at all when the church excommunicated you?
Very little. I've been pointing out flaws in Catholicism for a long time, and they were very happy to get rid of me. I've been the biggest problem to the Catholic Church. My next action in bringing down the Catholic hierarchy is to expose the selling of
Seems we're having a bit of difficulty getting that transmission through. But, yeah, probably content violation. Anyway, we have received official confirmation that Zacharias Jensen, with the help of his father, has invented the first compound microscope. Let's go to John, who's with Jensen now.
Thanks, Zach. I'm here right now with Zacharias Jensen. What inspired you to invent this instrument?
Actually, what happened was I was fooling around with some lenses, and I held one up to my eye and held another at arm's length and looked through them both at an object. I realized that what I was seeing through both lenses was magnified. I started experimenting with different numbers and types of lenses and different distances. I found that I had created a better magnifying glass. What I had created could look at things much closer than a regular magnifying glass, and that's how it happened.
Wow, that is amazing. And it all came from play.
Play is just as important as work, especially in science.
Truer words were never spoken. Well, back to you, Zach.
Thanks, John. Oh my goodness, are you okay?
Yeah, this just came in. You've got to see this. This will change everything.
Alright, let me have a look. Oh my gosh, this just in. I'm getting reports that Johannes Gutenberg has just invented what he calls the printing press. He says that it will vastly increase literacy and access to knowledge. With his printing press, he can mass produce literature at speeds unheard of before. Wow, you're right, that does change everything. Now for our Renaissance Man category. This time around, we will be putting it up for a vote. Send us your choice from these 6 gentlemen, and next week we will reveal our winner. The choices are Albrecht Dürer, Leonardo da Vinci, Nicholas Copernicus, Raphael, Galileo Galilei, and Michelangelo. Albrecht Dürer is a painter, printmaker, and theorist of the German Renaissance. His vast body of work includes engravings, his preferred technique in his later prints, altarpieces, portraits and self-portraits, watercolors, and books. The woodcuts, such as the Apocalypse series, retain a more Gothic flavor than the rest of his work. His well-known engravings include The Knight, Death, and the Devil, St. Jerome in his Study, and Melancholia I, which has been the subject of extensive analysis and interpretation. His watercolors also mark him as one of the first European landscape artists, while his ambitious woodcuts revolutionized the potential of that medium. Dürer's introduction of classical motifs into Northern art through his knowledge of Italian artists and German humanists has secured his reputation as one of the most important figures of the Northern Renaissance. This is reinforced by his theoretical treatises, which involve principles of mathematics, perspective, and ideal proportions. Leonardo da Vinci is an Italian polymath whose areas of interest include invention, painting, sculpting, architecture, science, music, mathematics, engineering, literature, anatomy, geology, astronomy, botany, writing, history, and cartography. He has been variously called the father of paleontology, ichnology, and architecture, and is widely considered one of the greatest painters of all time. He epitomized the Renaissance humanist ideal. Leonardo da Vinci is renowned primarily as a painter. Among his works, the most famous are the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and the Vitruvian Man. Leonardo is revered for his technological ingenuity. He conceptualized flying machines, a type of armored vehicle, concentrated solar power, an adding machine, and the double hull, also outlining a rudimentary theory of plate tectonics. He also made substantial discoveries in anatomy, civil engineering, optics, and hydrodynamics, but he did not publish these findings. Nicholas Copernicus is a mathematician and astronomer who formulated a model of the universe that placed the sun rather than the earth at the center of the universe. The publication of this model in his book On the Revolutions of the Celestial Spheres, just before his death in 1543, is considered a major event in the history of science, triggering the Copernican revolution and making an important contribution to the scientific revolution. He was a polyglot, meaning he had mastered multiple languages, and a polymath, meaning he had mastered multiple subjects, who obtained a doctorate in canon law and also practiced as a physician, classics scholar, translator, governor, diplomat, and economist. Like the rest of his family, he is a third-order Dominican. In 1517, he derived a quantity theory of money, a key concept in economics, and in 1519 he formulated a version of what later became known as Gresham's Law. Raphael is an Italian painter and architect of the High Renaissance. His work is admired for its clarity of form, ease of composition, and visual achievement of the Neoplatonic ideal of human grandeur. Together with Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, he forms the traditional trinity of great masters of the Renaissance. Raphael is enormously productive, running an unusually large workshop and leaving a large body of work. Many of his works are found in the Vatican Palace, where the frescoed Raphael rooms were the central and largest work of his career. The best-known work is the School of Athens in the Vatican Stanza della Segnatura. After his early years in Rome, much of his work was executed by his workshop from his drawings, with considerable loss of quality. He was extremely influential in his lifetime, though outside Rome his work was mostly known from his collaborative printmaking. Galileo Galilei is an Italian astronomer, physicist, engineer, philosopher, and mathematician who has played a major role in the scientific revolution of the 17th century. He has been called the father of observational astronomy, the father of modern physics, the father of the scientific method, and the father of science. His contributions to observational astronomy include the telescopic confirmation of the phases of Venus, the discovery of the 4 largest satellites of Jupiter, named the Galilean moons in his honor, and the observation and analysis of sunspots. Galileo also worked in applied science and technology, inventing an improved military compass and other instruments. Galileo's championing of heliocentrism and Copernicanism was controversial during his lifetime, when most subscribed to either geocentrism or the Tychonic system. He met with opposition from astronomers who doubted heliocentrism because of the absence of an observed stellar parallax. The matter was investigated by the Roman Inquisition in 1615, which concluded that heliocentrism was foolish and absurd in philosophy, and formally heretical, since it explicitly contradicts in many places the sense of Holy Scripture. Galileo later defended his views in dialogue concerning the two chief world systems, which appeared to attack Pope Urban VIII, and thus alienated him and the Jesuits, who had both supported Galileo up to this point. He was tried by the Inquisition, found vehemently suspect of heresy, and forced to recant. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest. While under house arrest, he wrote one of his best-known works, The Two New Sciences, in which he summarized work he had done some 40 years earlier on the two sciences now called kinematics and strength of materials. Michelangelo is an Italian sculptor, painter, and architect and poet of the High Renaissance who exerted an unparalleled influence on the development of Western art. Considered to be the greatest living artist during his lifetime, he has since also been described as one of the greatest artists of all time. Despite making few forays beyond the arts, his versatility in the disciplines he took up was of such high order that he is often considered a contender for the archetypal Renaissance man, along with his rival and fellow Florentine Medici client Leonardo da Vinci. A number of Michelangelo's works of painting, sculpture, and architecture rank among the most famous in existence. His output in every field of interest was prodigious. Given the sheer volume of surviving correspondence, sketches, and reminiscences taken into account, he is the best documented artist of the 16th century. He sculpted two of his best-known works, the Pieta and David, before the age of 30. Despite holding a low opinion of painting, Michelangelo also created two of the most influential frescoes in the history of Western art. The scenes from Genesis on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Rome, and the Last Judgment on its altar wall. As an architect, Michelangelo pioneered the Mannerist style at the Laurentine Library. At the age of 74, he succeeded Antonio da San Gallo the Younger as the architect of St. Peter's Basilica. And those are our 6 candidates for Renaissance Man. Pick your favorite and send your vote in to us now. My favorite's Leonardo. Thank you for watching Renaissance Update. I hope you will tune in next week for more news and views. For Fakesperian News, I'm Zachary Farquhar.
Thanks, Zach. I'm here with Martin Luther. Mr. Luther. Oh my god!
I'm here with Martin Luther. Mr. Luther. I'm here with Martin Luther. Mr. Luther.
You looked at me. Oh, so that's what you're gonna call me. Hello there, little child.
Okay, go.
This just came in. You've got to see this. This will change everything.
On here, act like... No, I wasn't really
Okay.
surprised at all. Like, yeah, like, it's whatever. It's whatever. Alright, get, like, closer in the frame. Yeah. Not? Hello!
Oh my goodness.
Nope, my room is never this clean.
Our house is as big as your room.
What?
Our house is as big as his room.
I haven't started. Okay, I've started the rec now.
Hey.